Hey, welcome back to Ungroundable, the podcast hosted by me, Lisa Schwartz, and my mom. Mom, you're back.
I'm
we haven't
back.
had you for a couple of weeks
Miss
here.
me, right?
We really missed you. You were so busy being sick, but also making sure you got your cocktails in at
Never
5
miss a cocktail
p.m.
at 5 o'clock.
Really miss you, but now we're back and better than ever because we're in your office.
That's right.
Yeah. With so many accoutrements behind us. So if you're not watching this, make sure you head over to YouTube or Patreon to check it out because boy, oh boy, there's a lot of, what is fun little, like, what is the word called where you like have little hidden treasures throughout? They're called Easter eggs. Yeah.
Oh. Easter egg?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. This is the longest intro ever. We're nailing it, guys. We have a great guest today, Andrea Jones-Rooy, who is multifaceted, multi-talented, and has some great stories to share. One of which actually has a full conspiracy theory behind it.
Totally.
So I can't wait to hear your guys' opinion on that. Today we're talking about breaking your own windows when you get locked out of places, and also picking and selling your neighbor's tomatoes. Delish.
Yeah.
Let's get into it, Jen.
Let's.
All right, here we go.
If your parents only knew of the shit you used to do, you'd be grounded for a long, long time.
Hi.
So exciting. You're so professional. I love it. I
Are
expect
we?
nothing less, but
Is it because
this
of
is amazing.
the printer in the background?
You mean the
It's
phallic
mostly that.
cactus?
Yeah, and the
area?
dogs
And
barking.
the dogs barking.
Like right
Yeah.
on cue.
Right on
Yeah.
cue.
We actually changed our location to my mom's house, so we are getting accustomed.
They're getting
See.
accustomed.
Yeah.
I like it. This is the most I've looked at a printer in like 4 years, so I'm really excited.
You know what's so funny? We recorded yesterday, Andrea and I recorded her podcast, which
Yeah.
was really fun. And you made a reference to like not using a printer. And I was like,
didn't I?
you did. And I wanted to jump in and be like, oh, I love using a printer. And we're
Welcome
the
to my-
same age. I thought you would be a
Yeah.
printer user.
Welcome to my
you'd
printer.
I think I'm just too dumb to use them. What was I talking about? Did you print something? Because as I saw the printer, I was like, did I say something about printers? I never talk about printers. Now it sounds like I have like big opinions about printers.
Yeah.
Maybe you need one.
But, I find them to be mysterious and powerful. Like when they work, it's awesome to have like a physical thing from something in a computer. But when they
Yeah.
don't, you're just like, do I need a new
What?
bottle of ink? Where do I get that? I don't know.
And that stuff is so expensive.
It's $1 million.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can't just get one. They're like, here, have the rainbow.
But Mom,
Right.
do you know that
Right.
like Gen Z, like the younger generations, like I don't even think they know what a printer is. Like they don't have
Are
printers
you
anymore.
kidding?
No. We're going on a trip tomorrow and she like MapQuest printed.
Oh, that's
Oh,
nice.
yeah, I printed it out. Like,
Yeah.
we need to know where we're going.
I mean, we do have other devices.
I know,
that-
but you're driving and I'll read and it's
That's cute. I mean, I used to do it in my dad, I think, might still print things out and like use a road atlas and stuff. But he used to print out stuff for me when I was like driving to college. And it was because we didn't have smartphones because I'm
Right.
a million years old. Also,
Yeah,
known as,
I
think,
just don't like
a year older than
looking
you.
at everything on my phone. It
Yeah.
drives me crazy.
Yeah.
And it's too small and I want to touch the paper.
you want to be there with it.
I want to be with it. Yes.
You want to live in the real world, not
Yeah.
these glossy screen worlds.
Although we're happy to be here on the screen with you today.
That's right.
I'm getting on a plane. I'm coming to you. I'll see you in a day.
Oh, that would be amazing.
There we go.
Well, I was kind of filling my mom in and then previously our listeners about all the things that you're doing, which is amazing. I didn't realize that you were a circus performer.
What?
Yes.
How, where, what?
Yeah.
Please, before we dive in, I need more information. And Mom
Sure.
loves a circus performer.
Oh, I do.
Oh, you do? Oh, hooray.
Cirque du
Well,
Soleil, I'm all
yes.
into that.
Yes. My I was going to say claim to fame, but it's not a claim to fame because most people don't know about it. But I worked for a company called Cirque du Soir, which is based in London. It's a nightclub that's circus themed, and they had a branch
Ooh.
in Shanghai, and I lived in Shanghai for a few years, and so that's
Oh,
where I got
wow.
involved. But it sounds almost like Cirque du Soleil. And I don't always correct people when they say, this is Andrea, she was in Cirque du Soleil. It's like, we don't need to get into the details. You know, it's like, did you go to Harvard or like Hafford? It's like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. But I do aerial stuff. So I do
Wow.
dance trapeze mostly, which is a trapeze that spins. And I do
Yeah.
fire and like backbendy, contortion-y type stuff while holding things that are on fire. And it's a lot of fun.
Yes.
And I just, kind of what Lisa and I were talking about yesterday, it keeps my brain occupied because it's the kind of thing that if you do it wrong, you die. And so you really have to get into it.
What's that show where the
Free Solo.
the talent show?
Oh, America's Got Talent.
yeah.
America's Got Talent. They've had quite a few gals do that. And I'm like, if I had a spin like that, I would just puke in the air.
Yeah.
That'd be the end of it.
Yeah,
do
Sophie
you-
DeRossi, I forget how to say her last name. She's great. And then my thing I'm excited about is my contortion coach was on a few years ago as a like kind of cool backbending thing that he did.
Whoa.
I am not at that level. I enjoy it. And when people, Lisa, we were talking about this yesterday too, when people pay me to show up at like a birthday party, I'll get out my whatevers. But
yes. Can
you
you
know-
make it to our Hanukkah
we're
party
having a party
next
on
week?
Tuesday. Could you
really?
be here?
I'm there.
She's in New York.
She can fly out.
I can fly out. I printed all the maps. I'll get there. Yeah.
Light the menorah with all your.
Oh,
like,
honey, and
There
I
we
make
go.
latkes like you've never
Really?
had before.
Okay, I'm tempted. All right.
Applesauce.
I'm going to just show up like sitting on the printer in the next episode.
Yeah.
Like, how did that person get there?
With
Magical.
a phallic
Oh yeah,
cactus.
Mom is.
I decorated
She's
it
very much
for you.
enjoying this.
I'm enjoying the
phallic,
phallic cactus.
Wow.
So
I am really impressed just out of the gates by the two of you, like, and your casual relationships. I don't think I've said the word phallic in front of my mother ever. I think she could handle it, but I couldn't handle it.
Well, this is a good segue because you mentioned
Okay.
that your mom, she was trying to get her mom to join us today, and her mom was unavailable. But yesterday, in discussing maybe having your mom on this, you're like, I don't know, I still feel nervous about some of these stories revealing to your mom. So we will be sure to forward this to your mom, and I'm
Right.
very excited about that. But in sort of
Maybe I can
study,
get a reaction tape for you. Or
Oh my God,
And
I'll
we
work
can
on
say
it.
phallic like 10 times if you want. And
In-
then she'll get over it.
What's that? Oh, my internet connection's out. Bye. Yeah.
yeah, close the laptop.
Yeah, I'm gone.
I guess in preparation for telling these stories that you have like sort of thought about before coming on here, we'd love to like sort of set the stage like we do about where you grew up, what kind of your childhood was like, what your parents were like, were they strict, what was your school, just so we kind of get an idea before you jump into the stories. It's always kind of fun to see the
Perfect.
full picture.
Well, I'll go ahead and just dial in my therapist, and we'll just do it for 20 hours straight, and we'll kind of work out the high level stuff.
Great.
Yeah, so I actually was born in LA and lived in LA until I was 6, and then we moved to Western Maryland, which is something I never forgave my parents for because LA is a lot more fun than like almost Appalachia. It has its charms, but I'm from
Where
the
in
part of
LA?
Maryland. I was living in Venice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Back when it was like this was 1982 to 88 Venice. So it was a different
cool.
neighborhood
Very
at the
different.
time.
Yeah.
But, like we could walk to the beach and it was really cool. And then I moved to a place where there were cows outside my high school. And
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
I'm from Frederick, Maryland, which is right where the hook starts in Maryland. And that's the part that recently tried to secede into West Virginia to give
Oh,
you a sense of
wow.
like the culture shock
Okay.
from LA to that.
Why'd you move there?
Well, we moved there. Now I really wish my mother was on the phone because we moved there. My dad works in film, and so it made sense to be in LA. But my mother is from the DC area originally. We had a lot of family out there, and they were just starting a family. So I was 6 and my brother was 4 when we moved. And I think they had big ideas about giving us like a normal childhood with like lawns to run around on, and like our car at our house had been broken into like 8 times and they didn't feel safe, and then to support raising us, having grandparents around and all that good stuff. In my mind, I mean, that's like the most forgiving version. As you could see, I have some built up, like, if only I'd be a movie star if we hadn't moved to Frederick. Like but I had a very nice childhood. Like I had nice friends, and we did a lot of stuff, and it was fine, but it was a very like regular American suburban life.
And cold.
Cold. Yes.
Snow.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Snow.
Yes.
Were
We
your
got like
parents?
snow days and things like that. So that was Those, I guess, are over.
Were they strict? Yeah, I saw that. I just read about
sad?
that.
Yeah.
They're not going to have snow days anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Because of Zoom.
I heard that.
You know? Oh, yeah.
I mean, even now as a teacher, I love a snow day. That's like the greatest gift is like, you're like, I'm not ready for class. Oh my God. And then it's snowing and you're like, there is a God.
Yes.
And now even we get these university bulletins. They're like, there are no more snow days. You can't cancel class if it's snowing.
Right.
Ah,
right.
bummer.
Where are you exactly? Where do you live?
I'm in New York and I teach at NYU.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
And they used to have
I'm in-
snow days.
Wow.
But they don't anymore.
You're impressed? Is that what
I'm-
you're going to
Are
say?
you
Yeah,
impressed? Please don't be.
I am. I'm like, I'm going to crawl under the desk. Don't give me a test.
Oh God.
Oh, she's afraid.
I see. I have a test. I just gave a test on Tuesday. I'll be happy to forward it to you.
Oh, great.
You data science.
Because you know why? Because I can
Yeah.
print it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This is how I'm going back to printers now. I had to print it out because we still use like the blue books. Like we're very old school, like no
Oh, yeah.
phone, because everyone would cheat otherwise. So you have to get
Sure.
your number 2 pencils and your blue books out. And I actually
Yeah.
had to ask someone to help me print and staple the exams because I was like, this is going to take me a day.
I could have been there for you. I could have
Yeah.
been there.
Oh,
If
my
only.
mom's like trying to vie for a job here.
You're
You want
hired.
a job? Yeah.
We actually need to hire one more teaching assistant for next semester.
I could
so-
do
You'd be
that.
great.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
could do that.
She loves New York. Okay.
Anyway,
back
sorry.
to your family.
Yeah, back
Yes.
to you.
Strict. Like, what was the household like?
The household was, this is where things will get dicey. The household was mercurial in the sense that it was mostly very good and we all got along. I had some sibling rivalry with my brother and we would sort of argue and then we would sort of just ignore each other as we got into high school. But my parents were very like fun until they weren't fun. And so it was like all fun and games. And then it was like, if you crossed a line and it wasn't always obvious where that line was, like you were in big trouble. So it's not like they were strict in a sense. Like I had friends whose parents were strict and they like couldn't do anything, no sleepovers, no anything. Like my parents were like, you know, get it. We were talking about this yesterday. Like, get into it, whatever interests you want. We support you. You can do anything you want. But it was like, you had the wrong tone in a reply to your mother. And it was like, how dare you speak to me like that? And then you were in trouble for days. And I would write a lot of like long apology letters and stuff.
Oh, wow.
But I wasn't like a rebellious kid in a huge way. I mean, we'll talk about a few that went awry, but generally it was like mostly cooperative, but the occasional punctuated equilibrium where it was like, oh, this thing I did, I didn't realize it was wrong or it was way more wrong than I thought it was going to be.
You were an intellectual kid?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to say I was just kind of worried.
You were a worried kid. But I
was a
do
worried
actually
kid.
think that lends itself to very smart kids because I watch my friends and their kids and the worried ones, like the very like anxious ones,
Yeah.
are always the smartest ones in the
Really?
group.
Your brother was
Because
a
they're
worry.
they're picking up, at least this is what I'm seeing. I'm curious if you like if this rings a bell, like kind of picking up on everything
Energy.
around them and like kind of like understanding what the adults are thinking. I'm thinking of one of my godsons where he's just so hyper aware and he wants to be perfect and he wants to like glue it all together.
Yeah, very
But
empathic.
very smart.
Huh. I'll take the smart part as an icing on the cake of anxiety and fear.
Yeah.
But, no, it was really, I think that does resonate and it does make me think even of, you know, and we've had conversation about this before, you know, people pleasing and being worried about how other people in the room are doing. Like, there was a lot of that. There was like, as long as you could kind of manage the situation and not step over a tripwire or trigger some kind of reaction, like things were
Okay.
pretty good. But it was the uncertainty, and this is where my therapist comes in, is the uncertainty of being like, I didn't even know I was doing something wrong, and now all hell is broken loose in this home. You know,
Oh, yeah,
never
that's a
violence,
weird.
nothing like that, but just like feeling very, to this day, you know, if I overhear, and I live in New York City where everyone is screaming at everyone on the street all the time,
Right,
and
yeah.
I walk by two people fighting, I have it now just thinking about it, like a physical reaction to like someone's in trouble. Oh my God, I gotta go hide somewhere. That kind of
Yeah.
so
I feel
think
that.
that's why I was like, I don't know. Like I'm happy to tell my mother about the stuff that I did, and frankly curious if she even knows about it, and she might. But I was also like, she's gonna be mad at me, and I'm 40 years old. All right, this is
Wow.
insane.
Dude,
and
no,
we get
you-
along well. Yeah.
Yeah.
You are not the only one. I feel like everyone that
Really?
comes on here, there's at least like one story that they're like, should we? Shouldn't we? Like, should I tell it? Like,
And it's been like 30 years
yeah. It's like, oh God. Was your brother similar to you or like an opposite?
similar, and now I'm really gonna air it all. I got the impression growing up that I was my mother's favorite, and she's probably gonna scream when she hears that, or she'll be like, "Yeah, way to pick up." But I think it was, I was better at school. I was kind of, I don't know, maybe more mature for my age, but that's typical for girls growing up compared to boys. And I think we had more interests in common, all this stuff. And my brother struggled a little bit in school. He had like the ADHD diagnosis that every boy who, couldn't sit still for 6 hours had, And so it was kind of, it was easy for me to be like the air quotes golden child. I want to emphasize, though, that this went away when I went to grad school and disappeared into a pit of like obscurity, and my brother started teaching kids how to read. And so now he's my mother's favorite. But and I was just seen as this like lost soul staring at a spreadsheet in Michigan, which is not incorrect. But
wait, you went to Michigan?
Yeah.
Oh wow, you stuck with all the cold places.
Yeah.
Spaces.
It's bad. It's bad.
But cool. We love Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Both my brother and I wanted to go there. University of Michigan?
Indeed. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Why didn't you go? You should have come.
Didn't get in.
Well,
yeah.
Well, he got in, but we said no.
Oh, yeah. My brother got in.
Too expensive.
And we were like, California blood. He would have withered away. And
I had a friend he was not from California, but a friend who was from like Asheville, North Carolina, which is, I think, much cooler temperature-wise than LA, and he really struggled. So LA, you would have actually had a really rough time. I think. Like,
it's no joke.
He was not ready. Yeah, he was not ready. It was rough for me, and I grew up around snow. Like it's no joke up there.
Yeah,
it was 60 here, and we're like, ooh.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I looked at the weather thing today. I was like, oh my God, it's going to be like low 50s.
I know. We don't know what to do with ourselves.
That's amazing. I think it's probably low 50s here, and I don't even wear a jacket in low 50s here.
Whoa.
It's like, oh, it's nice. We don't have to turn the heat on or anything.
Oh my God. You're so cool. My husband called me today. He's like, you left me in the house and it's 66 degrees. He was like, I was like, turn on the heat and put a sweatshirt on.
Oh my God. I think my heater is set to 66 degrees.
Oh my God.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Is it because the houses aren't insulated, or do we just have different bodily tolerance?
I think it's different. Yeah, different
really?
Bodily tolerance.
Is that the word we want to use? That could be the title of this episode.
Bodily tolerances. Well, now that we sort of have this stage set, do you think? Are you ready? Do you need to take a deep breath?
Yeah, I need to have a glass of vodka. I'll just drink that, and then
our kind of gal.
Yeah, Tito's preferred.
Yeah, Mom's a big Tito's fan
with
here.
a splash of lime.
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah.
I'm sorry. This bitch right here had COVID and it went on for like a long time. And she still, when you had COVID, she still made sure she got in her daily cocktail.
Nice.
You
and my mother would get along really well in that case. It's like cocktail hour is the closest thing we have to religious observance in my house.
Yes.
5 o'clock somewhere.
It is 5 o'clock somewhere.
I would keep looking at the clock. I'm not kidding.
Well, you seem to get through it just fine.
Did. Okay. I'm fine now.
Here we go. Thank you. Hit us. What you got?
All right. So the big one, and the one that I was most afraid of my mother either finding out about now or being like, yeah, we saw through this all along. That's
the worst, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, I think I got him all these years. That's like, would be a worse response than being mad. It's like, I knew. And you've been holding it in this whole time.
And you let me just lie to your face in this long, involved story that I came up with.
Okay,
yes.
Okay,
so I'm in high school, and I guess a further stage setting is like, I was a good student. I wasn't like amazing, but I wasn't causing problems for anyone, and I was very into musical theater, acting, dance, all that stuff. I was in the depths of my being mad at my parents for not letting me be a movie star in Los Angeles. And I decided in, I think, probably my junior year of high school, I had just gotten my driver's license, that I was going to skip school, which I never did, like, good student, skip school, drive my parents' car. I didn't have a car. Drive my parents' car on the highway. I was not allowed to drive on the highway. From Frederick, my hometown, to like deep in downtown Washington, D.C., which is like an hour with limited traffic and gets very gnarly on either end, especially in the D.C. end if there's a lot of traffic. To go to like a cattle call casting garbage like agency thing that I read about in like a physical newspaper. I mean, this is 1998, right?
Wow.
Yes.
So like not even for like a particular project, it was like to be picked up by some agency to then end up in a commercial. Like it was just not, this world.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God. I once, as one of my part-time jobs, I trained to be those people that would walk around like
Yeah,
the
I remember
mall.
that.
And like I was in Target and I was like, your kid is so cute. And they're like, oh, thanks. I'm like, oh, how old are they? They could be a star. Like
Yeah.
recruit. So
remember
basically
that
you were
like
yeah.
from pyramid
you had
scheme.
that job.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
totally. Because once they get you in, then you have to buy the headshots and the whole shit.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you pay you're all this stuff. I mean, to be fair, I also got resucked into this when I was like in my 20s in New York. So I'm just an idiot, I think is one of the lessons here. I would do it now. If you were like, actually, I know someone, I'd be like, I'll Venmo you. So this was the first time I'd done it. I was like, I'm done with my small town life. I had, stars in my eyes. Like, this is going to be my big break. This
Oh no.
Oh, my God.
beige office building in Washington, D.C. And so I drive all the way down there.
You do. How do you get the car?
I think I took the car. It's a good question. I think I used to drive. They had two cars, and I would take. My dad mostly worked from home, and so I took one to school, I believe.
Okay.
And then instead of turning off for school, I just kept going.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
like there's like a highway, and it was a very Truman Show thing because it was like I really wasn't allowed to leave my hometown without people in the car with me or driving. Like, and the
Sure.
highways are a very different experience from like our little back roads. And so there was a moment where I was like, this is the exit for my school, like on our little one road, like you turn. And then I was like, if I keep going, I hit the on-ramp for the highway. And it's like, like Thelma and Louise, like got on it, like Route 15 to 270. And I was like freaked out. But I make it. And I'm sure I had printed out maps now that I think about it. I'm
I'm
sure.
so proud.
I
What
thank
were
you
you
very much.
listening to? I
So
wonder.
proud.
Almost certainly I was listening to DC 101, which was the alternative rock station at the time. And I
Cool.
think still might be. If anyone's listening who's in the DC, Maryland area, please confirm, but I'm pretty sure that DC 101 is still playing the exact same songs.
Yes.
As in 1980. It's like the, Wish You Were Here, like Creed, like.
Great.
Yeah, that stuff. So I'm
All
obviously
right.
listening to that. Yeah.
Badass.
And I make it all the way to DC. And I'm sure I got super lost. I'm sure I paid $1 quadrillion to park in somewhere. I go to this thing. And there's no cell phones or anything. I go to this thing. I'm sitting in this room with thousands of people who've also been duped. And by the way, I think that my whole idea, because you're right, those mall people coming around, I think I got my whole idea of like how you get famous from reading like teen magazines back then that were like, how did this model, and like, well, they were discovered at the mall.
Totally.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
always, you're always
Totally.
just discovered at the mall. It's not
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was like, I'm not gonna get discovered in the Fredericktown Mall, but I might get discovered in this DC, whatever.
Sure.
So I'm at this thing, and I sit there all day, and I'm not supposed to be gone all day, and it's
No.
taking forever. And I don't even remember what happened in the room, but I think I went in, introduced myself, and they were like, "We'll send you a bill." Like I don't know what. And so it's dark out.
Oh,
And
no.
I have to get back, and I'm trying to be like, how am I going to tell my parents where I've been? I can't call them and say I'm so, whatever. And so I just was like, I just need to get home, and I'll have a story for them, like of where I went afterwards, like to study or something. And I couldn't find a phone, blah, blah, blah. So it's dark out now. It's rush hour traffic from
Oh,
DC to Frederick. And with like the wrong kind of rush hour, that can be like 3 hours. So it's like gridlock, and I'm driving at night, and I'm freaked out. And I make it about halfway. The traffic starts to clear up. So I'm going like normal human 65 miles an hour speeds. And this car comes up next to me, and it's like a bunch of, as far as I could tell, it's like a bunch of like kids who like drive past me, and they start gesturing, looking at me and gesturing. They're like in the left lane, I'm in the right lane. They start gesturing at me with like this big down arrow. I haven't told the story in a while. It's so wild. Big, like, they're like, as though like something's wrong with my car, or like a tire is flat. And I was like, oh, they're just messing with me. It's just like, hometown boys, on the right, whatever. And so I keep going, and they do it like a few more times.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh my God, something is wrong with this car. I have to pull over. And so I pull over. I'm on the highway, like a big
I'm like
highway.
nervous, but I'm glad
Yeah.
that you're alive right now.
I'm
so-
alive now.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, this is not a hologram or a recording. Yeah. I am alive. I think. And so I pull over, and it's a 2-lane highway at this point, and like barely a shoulder. And I get out of the car, and I go to I'm just gonna get out, check that the tires are, because it was driving fine. I was like,
Oh my
check the
God.
tires are fine, and then get back in the car. Meanwhile, it's like it's also a big like trucking route. So like traffic has picked up and it's like trucks that are passing.
Oh,
Like it's
God.
big stuff. And it's like, shaking and whatever. So I get out of the car and this is where it all goes to hell. I am an idiot. And I was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep the keys in the ignition and keep the car running so that the lights stay on, because I don't know how cars work. So that the lights stay on. And then as I'm getting out of the car to go look at the wheels, I say, but for safety, I better lock the doors.
No.
And so I lock myself out of my car
Oh, no.
while it's running on the side of the highway in the middle of nowhere.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, this is why I was like, I don't know what my mother thinks happened, because I have a story that I told her. It's different from that. And so I'm just like, what the fuck am I gonna? There's no phones, there's no nothing, right? And so I sort of like stagger around for a while and like see if I can break it and like tap the window. I was like, whatever. And I just like start waving at traffic coming to like help me. And I was also, I don't know if this is relevant, but I was like, I was 16. I was quite small. Like it's just like a kid on the side of now I meet 16-year-old. Like it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And so I'm like waving at people and I'm actually saying out loud, like they can't hear me, but I'm saying it for my own sanity. I'm like, please come help me. Please don't kill me. Please come help me. Please don't kill me. Someone
What
who's
a
nice.
mantra.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a bad one if you're looking for a new mantra.
Let me print that out.
Yeah.
I'm going to see it on your bulletin board next time.
Most likely.
Yeah, I'm into it in like a cool kind of cursive. So eventually someone stops. And this is a heartwarming part of the story. It's this guy. He's clearly coming home, I don't know, maybe from work or whatever. And he pulls over in front of me. I explain the situation and he's like, well, it seems like what we should do is I'll take you to the nearest whatever, because I'm nowhere near a gas station, nothing, to a nearest payphone so you can call your parents and they can come get you. And I was like, there's no fucking way that's happening because I'm not supposed to be here. Yeah. And so he and I craft a plan where I'm like, I think I have to break the window.
Oh,
and so
God.
he agrees and we decide to try to break the passenger side window. I'm like, I'll just tell my parents like a baseball went through, but I have to just get in the car and get home.
Yeah.
And so he agrees to help me. Very nice man. I felt like
How
he
old
was
was this man?
He was probably, in my head, he's like 30. He might have been 22 for all I know. But
Got it.
He was like he had a kid not with him, because eventually we tried a bunch of different stuff because it was like, what are we going to break a window with? Like punch it, kick it? No, they're pretty sturdy. And so he starts taking stuff out of his car to break the window. And at one point he takes out a baby stroller and like it's all folded up and tries to hit it, and it only just like bounces back. And so he's old enough to have a baby stroller. It's 25, I don't know.
God.
That doesn't work. Finally, we realize that there's those reflector kind of little street signs like you have on the side of the road. We pull it out and it's really sharp on the bottom so you can jam it into the dirt. And he takes a huge swing, hits it, and the whole window finally comes crumbling down in like that shatterproof glass that they
my
have. It was
God.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh. And he was like, okay.
Bye.
And so he drives off, and I said, thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. He drives off, and I remember driving and like shaking because I'm back in the car and I'm like back on the road. I'm going like 2 miles an hour. The wheels are fine, and I'm shaking.
Yeah, what was it that they were pointing to?
Nothing. I still don't know. I think they were just
dicks.
fucking with me. I think they were just like
Yeah.
high school kids being assholes. Maybe they were like telling me to roll down the window. Maybe they were telling me to like flash. I have no idea. No idea, right? They were just idiots. And I remember seeing the guy who helped me drive off, and I started to kind of like cry. I was like, he was so kind. There's such kindness in the world. And I was like, I'll never repay him. I was like, I didn't even get his number. I can't send him a gift. And then, so I still think about I don't know his name. Thank you, person.
Do you think he's
Amazing.
telling the story? That
Maybe.
our next guest comes on, it's him. He tells the story.
Like, well,
That'd
I
be
helped
great.
this like random lost girl break her own car window.
I'm sure he retells that story. That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get home at 11 at night. I've been gone all day. My parents obviously have freaked out. My mother's big
Freaked
line,
out.
I'm sure many mothers have this line, like, I thought you were dead in a ditch. And what she doesn't know, I don't think, is that I like almost was. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Literally a ditch, like not in a good place. And so I lied to them and I said, oh, I went to someone's house after school and I parked on, it's a street in Frederick. It's called Butterfly Lane. I picked Butterfly. I was like, I need a story and I need details. So I was like, I was
smart.
I was at, Kayvon's house, my high school boyfriend, or Brad's house, and we were on Butterfly Lane. I was in the house and I didn't notice, and I came out and someone had thrown a baseball through the car window and now it's broken, so I have to get it fixed. And I was like, I'll pay for it because I am a saint and a good person and you've raised me right. And of course they were like, what? Like, what's on Butterfly Lane? Very little. where's the baseball?
Yeah.
How did this happen? Like, why didn't you tell us right away? Blah, 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 blah. And I had like a, made up, I was like, they kept the ball. It was at the da-da-da-da-da. And they just never believed me. And this is where I really want to know what my mom thinks, because I never gave in. I never once was like,
that's
this is
the
it.
key.
I was
That's
just like,
the key.
yes, you start to believe it. Like, even when you asked, like, what are some things, I was like, well, there's the Butterfly Lane story. I was like, I was never on Butterfly Lane. And to this day, I drive on Butterfly Lane. If anyone's been to Frederick, it's not a main street, but it's like parallel to one of the main streets. Like, you will end up, I'm always like, well, that's where it happened. I'm like, but it's not. It's not where it happened. None of it happened.
Scene
And
of the
eventually
crime.
we got a replacement window. It was all like, it was a cheap window because I had no money. And so it had like writing on this. It was just like a used whatever. So the car just kind of looked like shit for a while. And I never I was like, this will fade. And that's like the biggest thing.
Did
Like,
you get in trouble? Like, were you punished at all?
Yes, I got in big trouble for not calling them and telling them where I was, and for having the car be a total wreck. And they definitely didn't buy the baseball thing.
Yeah.
And so they're like, we don't know what you did, but you won't tell us. And it was normally I caved to them. So it was actually kind of hard to think of stories because I was so like afraid of making them mad that I often either was very careful or like would own up to it and then give these long apology letters, which frankly, now I'm like, I think I kind of send emails to colleagues like, I'm so sorry that I wasn't able to deliver your whatever. Like, just that was my strategy. So, but this was a rare one where I was like, I know these are the rules. I'm not supposed to go on the highway. I am supposed to go to school. But I was so like, this is my big break that I was like, I just fuck it. And so I don't think they know that I went to DC, that I drove on the highway when I wasn't supposed to, that I didn't go to school.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's scary. That's
Especially
a big,
at that age.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did the agency ever call you?
Yeah,
No, nothing happened.
that's what was going to be my next question.
I was like, and that's why you saw me in Good Will Hunting. No, nothing.
And that's
I didn't know anything.
showbiz, baby.
Yeah, and that's why I'm the famous supermodel that I am today. Nothing
Honestly,
happened
that's
from
one
that.
of the most badass stories we've heard, though. Like,
is.
Really?
people-
I was afraid it was gonna be too boring.
No, I mean
No.
that you took you didn't technically steal the car, but kind of. And then you pulled
Yeah.
that whole thing off. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty good.
I remember you got stuck on the freeway and you pulled over in the car and you called me. You were crying.
Oh.
Something like that.
I don't have a memory
No,
of that.
maybe it was
But
my.
I mean, you're very brave. Like, it's driving at 16 on a highway is
Yeah.
that was pretty badass.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty rough highway. Like it's pretty heavily trafficked, and there's a fair amount of accidents kind of at all times. It's a big rush hour thoroughfare and or like driving late and fast kind of road. Maybe that's how all highways are. So and then I see people who are 16 now, and I'm like, these people shouldn't be behind the wheel. Full stop.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
How
The driving age should be
horrifying.
30. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's insane.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see them and you're like double take. It looks
Yeah.
like there's a child in the car.
Yeah, and at the time I was like, I'm an adult and I'm taking, the initiative with my care, and I'm gonna get out of this small town and blah 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 blah. And all that happened was I just got tricked by some dudes. I wonder, like once a year I'm like, what did they want?
What if those were the dudes that were also running
Yeah, it could be.
the agency scheme?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they're just like following you around to the end
Oh
of
my
time.
God.
that could be.
Yeah.
Waiting to cast me in their movie, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah. But the big moment, like when I realized what I had done, like it spiraled into stupidity. It would have been awesome had I not. It was late. Like I got stuck at the thing longer than I expected to, but I could have like made up that story. It was really only when I started it all went wrong when I started listening to those dudes and then my own idiocy in locking the keys in the car while it was running. Cause I was like, it's going to run out of gas and I'm just going to be stuck here forever. And I don't know where I am. I don't know how far. And so it's like that moment, it went from like fun, sort of like I'm getting one over on my parents to like, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? Just like reiterate for listeners that maybe are significantly younger, like back then you didn't have cell phone. Like
No.
people did not have cell phones. And that it's hard to wrap your head around that if you grew up in a time where
Yeah.
all you know is cell phones. But like
Yeah.
that was a challenge. Like that
Like
was
truly, yeah, I could have just, if it were 5 years later, 10 years later, I could have just called a friend and say, hey, I have this problem.
Yeah.
Come with a Slim Jim or whatever it is that, I'm sure I'm from like a rednecky part of the country, probably everyone had like a Slim Jim. I could have gotten
Yeah.
in, no problem.
Yeah.
It's like
Totally.
all the episodes of Seinfeld that don't work in the age of cell phones, like
Right.
this was that for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
It's like the whole thing falls
exactly.
apart. Yeah.
But didn't you have phones on the freeway or the highway?
In like the boxes,
yeah.
the
The
call
call
box.
box.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that
We
would
don't
take.
even have those anymore. They
We
took them
don't?
out.
Oh,
Did we?
wow.
I don't know. I actually wonder if we did. I remember kind of starting to walk and being like, I don't know where I'm going.
No, that's
Like,
horrifying.
how far is this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
But you're right, they do it. The little blue lights.
Yeah. But
They used
then,
to have them on college campuses too. I don't know if they have them.
yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
right. Totally.
Yeah.
That's
They probably had to
true.
take, if NYU had them, they probably took it down because probably random drunk non-NYU students were probably constantly picking them up.
Totally.
there-
What a
yeah.
what a mess. What a
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you mentioned that you don't think your mom knows this one, but do you have stories, the rest of your stories, your mom does know? You did fess up?
There are some, so there's some where I fessed up, and then there's one where I just blatantly got caught.
Oh, give
And-
it to us.
Yeah, you want that one? All right.
Yeah.
This one is probably the one that my mother was most angry about. And actually, I would like to know what she thinks about why she was so angry. Or maybe you'll tell me why she was so angry, because in my twisted childhood head, I was like, the punishment is not fitting the crime here. So here's the crime. It's also the only time, I think, in my life, my dad is a very mild-mannered person, so it's the only time my dad was like mad at me, like yelled at me, mad at me. And so I was like, I really fucked up. So you tell me if it's as bad as I thought.
Okay.
I didn't think it was that bad. All right. So now I'm in middle school, and we couldn't drive, and my friends were all in my neighborhood, and my parents had a big vegetable garden that they shared with their neighbors. So they grew like tomatoes, zucchini, all that stuff.
Cute.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cute. And my friend Lauren and I, I'm going to throw her under the bus. Lauren, sorry.
Yes.
She's going to come up in others, depending on how far we want to go in this. My friend Lauren and I decided that we wanted to make some money. And so we were like, I know, we'll pick the tomatoes and we'll sell them to the neighbors.
Brilliant.
Enterprising capitalists that we
Love
are.
it. Love
yeah.
it.
Entrepreneur, if you will. Right. So we did that. And we walked around the neighbors' houses on our little neighborhood and sold the tomatoes, and they're very good tomatoes, and didn't think anything of it. And I don't even know how my mother found out. Either she went to pick a tomato for dinner and there were none, which is plausible, or and this is where I was just like sometimes just wrong in my assessment of what was going to be a problem. I think I was like, hey, look, I made $20 selling tomatoes. And she lost her mind because she was like, this is stealing. You're like, we're sharing them with the neighbors, with Steve and Lillian. They were our neighbors. And so maybe if it had been their own, they wouldn't have been so mad. But she was like, this is stealing. This is bad. You have to go to Steve and Lillian's and apologize to them. Tell them what you did and apologize. You stole their tomatoes. And I was like, rattled. And so I was like, okay. So I go next door. It's like 5 p.m., right? And I knock on the door and they invite me, like, Andrea, thanks for coming by. And they invite me in. They're really nice. They have a kid now, but they didn't have kids then. And so they were just sort of like friendly, cool, childless neighbors to have go. So I come in and they're like, do you want cookies? Do you want milk? And I said, yes. And I sat with them in the living room for like half an hour and had a really nice time and ate the stuff they gave me, but I couldn't muster the courage to tell them what I'd done. So I just was like, bye. And I went back home.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And my mother was like, I don't remember exactly how it shook out, but she found out that I hadn't confessed. And I imagine I just came home and was like, going to my room, bye. And I think she spoke with Lillian because they're neighbors and friends. And Lillian was like, so sorry about what Andrea did. And Lillian was probably like, I don't know what you're talking about. So then it just took on a life of its own, where it was like, you didn't do what we told you to do. And this is and you're so bad. And she was just like screaming and screaming and screaming at me. And I'm like in my room. And I was just like, I feel like it wasn't that bad, but okay. And then my dad comes home, and it's one of those, like, my mother's like, do you know what your daughter did today?
Oh,
and you're like,
boy.
I can hear it from downstairs. I'm just like, ah. And so then he comes up, and he's really mad at me for, like, I mean, it is bad. I stole and I lied, but it's like, he was so mad.
But like, it's like minimal.
Yeah,
stealing.
Minimal, though.
Yeah.
Minimal.
I mean, tomatoes are healthy. I was just helping the neighbors. And
Sure.
I mean, my dad grew up on a farm, so maybe he took it personally. I don't know. But I was so startled that he was so mad because he's never mad. Or if he is, we don't see it. And so I ran outside and I'm like 11, 12. So I'm like, but I'm acting like a child. I ran outside and climbed a tree in our yard. We should never have moved to the suburbs. This is their fault again. I climbed to a tree all the way to the top. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to hide here and then I'm going to run away.
Yes,
And-
you are.
Yeah. And my parents, even my dad in particular, at one point came out and they really were looking for me. Like, like you'd look for a cat in a tree, like, Andrea, where are you? They didn't know where I was, and I was like hiding. I was there for hours. And then I think I finally got like hungry or tired, and I went in. And then I think I was grounded for just ever after that.
Oh my God.
But to this day, I'm just like, was it that bad?
Okay,
But it was the worst.
conspiracy theory.
Yeah, okay.
There was something going on, some deal. There was something between neighbors and
That could be.
what, like maybe the gardening was a cover for something. Were they selling drugs? What
Maybe.
was really happening?
That makes sense.
Do you know what I mean? Like the stakes were so high with these
Yeah.
fucking tomatoes.
Right. It's like if the tomatoes were filled with like Breaking Bad meth, then like,
Yeah.
Wow.
That was your college money right there is what that was.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Extreme. Or there's just like farmers' conduct or like
Right.
farmers' code, and you like
Right.
broke the farmers' code.
Right. And I don't know how much of it, like, my mom was like, I remember being very shocked. She was like, it's not okay that you stole those. They were not yours to sell. And at the time, I didn't have it in me, but it's like, aren't we a family unit? Isn't what's yours, parents, what? Okay. But they weren't shared with the neighbors, so there's that. But then I think it was the fact that I was supposed to confess and then
Fair enough.
accepted gifts.
Yeah, instead, cookies and milk instead.
You know what?
Yeah.
Good for
Yeah.
you. I hope
They're-
they were great cookies.
They were lovely. They were absolutely lovely. Store-bought, which we never had in my house. We had,
Oh, wow.
homemade, whole grain, whatever, carob chip stuff. Hippie,
Oh, yeah.
hippie stuff, at my house. So we
Yeah,
had probably
no fun.
Oreos. Yeah.
Oh, I love a good Oreo.
I love
Well,
an
we're
Oreo.
going to take a quick break, but will you stick around because we actually, some of our listeners submit their own stories of things that they've been holding on to so tightly. And so if you would mind kind of chiming in, and maybe it'll bring up some of your memories and more stories
Excellent.
from your end. So we'll be right back. Hey, we just want to take a quick little break to say a big old thank you for joining us here today and for showing so much love for our show. As you guys know, we are still the show is still technically new. Is it new? How long can we say it's like a new show?
Maybe next week, and that'll be it.
That's it? Okay. Mom has officially said the cutoff for calling this a new show is next week. So today we're really going to milk it. It's still a new show, so we need you to spread some love by sharing it with everyone and leaving a rating and a review. Be honest, but as Mom would say, be kind.
That's right.
Yeah. And tell us what you guys think. Also, like I had mentioned, we are about to jump into some of your stories. So if you want to leave us your story, you can head over to ungroundablepodcast.com. Let it out, guys. Therapeutic.
Oof.
Did you say?
I love those stories.
I know. And I can't wait to share the ones coming up right now. They're crazy. Also, guys, we have a Patreon. You know how it works. Head over to patreon.com/ungroundablepodcast. We got a lot of really fun stuff going on over there. And it's constantly evolving and changing, and the community is so beautiful. We just recently did a live, and it was so fun.
So fun.
And so special. So make sure that you guys head over there. The next hangout actually is January 13th at 4:30 Pacific Standard Time. You were just like looking in panic, like wondering what you were doing on January 13th.
Yeah, what? Oops, now I know.
Now you know. Now you're doing it live. It's exclusive. It's not recorded. You can even be a part of the conversation. So make sure you head over to our Patreon. Shall we get back to it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We are back and we are recovered from our conspiracy theories, although we continue to think about why your parents were so mad at you.
Right.
Do you have any theories?
No, but I really want a tomato.
Now you're craving a tomato?
They're good tomatoes. No,
Yeah.
they still grow them and they're awesome.
I'll be
Literally
by.
no tomato is better, but maybe I have an association around it with like this illicit tomato now.
I'm proud
Or-
of you. You made $20. Like
Yeah.
I feel like
Filled with
that
drugs. I don't know.
I was at
know.
Enterprise.
That's why it was so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was an addictive tomato.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm proud of her that she was like wanting to.
Make a buck?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I
cool.
love that. I love
How
that
else am
for
I
you.
going to fund my trips to DC 5 years later?
Yeah,
You know?
or your
I mean, I probably had to
windows.
put gas in that car, although no one was really paying attention to it. I will say that I think that so that was a big shock, like just getting in so much trouble for that. Like I got in more trouble for that than I did for getting completely wasted on New Year's 2000 and barfing all night in my boyfriend's dad's bathroom. And they had to like drag me home, and like my dad had to like throw me in the, and it was like really messy and really bad, but like my parents were not as mad at me for that
Wow.
and they'd never seen me drunk before, all this. Then the tomato thing was like,
Listen,
Just so
I
bad.
really do need you to have this conversation about the tomatoes with your mom.
Yeah.
And if you record it, please send it over
will.
and
Yeah.
maybe we can put it on our Patreon
Okay.
because
Yeah.
I really feel like there was something going on
There was
between
something
your
else.
parents and the neighbors, and there was
Yeah.
like some sort of a
Ooh.
deal, or
Yeah.
or the neighbors were pissed because you guys were eating too many of the tomatoes. Something was
Right.
off, and
Yeah,
we
something was really
need-
off.
That's an interesting point. And I also feel like as I'm saying it, it's like, oh wow, I must have had like the cushiest, most privileged childhood in the world when my like worst got in trouble story is about tomatoes. And it's like, that's not a fair characterization. Like I got in trouble for lots of stuff, but that was the worst. And it's so
Huh.
puzzling because I don't see it as the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
'cause
I will say, yeah, I think that after the car thing, that I kind of got away with my Butterfly Lane lie. I then became a little bit more rebellious, and or I had a car so I could do stuff. So then I was much faster to do the like I'm staying at a friend's house. Like
Yeah.
I was more comfortable with that. But in middle school with the tomatoes, I was an angel. I don't know.
All right, so we're going to dive into some of our submissions that we got. And if you guys want to submit your own stories, head over to ungroundablepodcast.com and let them rip. This is our first submission. I always like to preface this by saying I never pre-read these, so here we go.
All right.
When
That's
I was,
exciting.
yeah, it's exciting and nerve-wracking. Reading out loud, it's terrifying. When I was in second grade, we came back inside from recess, and I asked the teacher if we could go back outside. The teacher obviously said no. So 30 minutes later, I asked to use the restroom. I pulled the fire alarm, so everyone had to go back outside.
I love it.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
Wait,
Yeah.
is that a
That
felony to pull the fire
I
alarm?
think it is.
It is?
Yeah.
I think so. Maybe it depends on the context. Like it's like, well, I don't know. In my head, it's a felony to yell fire in a crowded theater. So presumably
Yeah.
pulling an alarm would be.
How'd
But-
you do that when you're in
We're
second
asking
grade, though?
People that
Yeah.
are rule followers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
You just pulled the fire alarm.
Yeah, but isn't it kind of up high?
Yeah, it's true.
Are they? I thought they were always just like in a little box. Safety first.
I just like that the kid or the person who wrote in was like, I have to be outside. Like,
Yeah.
they could have just gone outside without pulling the fire alarm and like chilled out and then come back in when they were ready and pretended they were in the bath. Like, but no, everybody had to go outside.
Yeah, we all, if I want to go, we all
All
have to
go.
go
Yeah.
outside. I bet that's more common than not for kids to
Oh, yeah.
pull the.
I think, remember, there was a conspiracy theory about your brother pulling
No.
the fire alarm.
What was
Yeah.
it? Where?
We were staying in Palm Springs on a family vacay or whatever, and the fire alarm went off, and your brother had gone to the bathroom. And we're like, uh-huh.
Mm.
Do you think it was him?
Oh, we don't know.
He would
Let's
have
ask
never
him.
done. He would have never done that. My brother was a rule follower, also.
Yeah, big time.
Oh, so we just gave him shit and told him it was him this whole time?
And he, wow.
we thought for sure he did it
Really?
because he was so fascinated with things, numbers and hallways and all that
Oh.
stuff.
Like, what
So-
happens if you pull this thing? Like
yeah,
that
what
kind of stuff?
happens?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it is a fascinating thing. You know, when you like kids get in the cars and they start like
Right.
pushing all the buttons. Yeah. All right.
Right.
Well,
Let's ask
good
him.
on them for pulling that fire alarm.
I once was so my dad's a filmmaker and he was doing some editing on a computer with some dude who was helping him, this nice man, and they were working and I was just like sitting there. And this is the button thing. I was like watching them work on the computer, this big desktop, and I was like, what happens if I press this button?
Oh yeah.
And I just pressed it and it just turned the whole thing off and lost all their work. So
Oh.
kids will just press a button.
Yeah.
But he was not as mad at me about that.
Is
as
he
the
with the
tomatoes.
tomatoes?
Tomatoes
Dude,
just add a line.
conspiracy. I really
Yeah.
do feel like there was some like
I think you're right.
like some trade happening.
Yeah,
there
like-
was some trade happening.
Yeah.
Or some beef
or-
with the neighbors. Something was up.
Something
Maybe
was
I'll talk
going
to the
on.
neighbor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, we need more. We need
Yeah,
more.
We
we
on
also
this.
have more evidence. My friend Lauren, who did it with me, I don't know what happened with her and her mother. And her mother and my mother are friends. So, like, was Lauren punished as well? I don't know. There's a lot.
Mm.
The case is cracking
cliffhangers.
open.
Yes, cliffhangers.
I thought we had a cold
need-
end, but this is it. This is
No.
the whole
No,
thing.
we've only just begun.
It's
We've
fried
only
green
begun.
tomatoes getting
Yes.
warming up.
We're just
Yeah.
getting started here. Okay.
Yeah.
Fan submission number 2. I used to put nuts all over my neighbor's car so they would sit on and poop on it all day. Oh, so like birds would? One of our producers just typed in, assuming they were squirrels.
Right.
Oh.
So just like, okay. So
Yeah.
basically just like put nuts and seeds on the car so that it would attract. Mom has a lot to say about this because her neighbor, my mom hates her neighbor because her neighbor leaves nuts and seeds out for all the.
Cat food. I mean, bowls of stuff.
Like on purpose?
Yes.
So, like,
raccoons.
the
come.
raccoons come,
I mean,
the squirrel-
huge raccoons that are like
They
big,
can get big. Yeah.
huge, and mean.
Yeah.
But I feed we have a local squirrel at home.
But you have one.
Yeah.
You only have one.
And we don't leave out like massive amounts of food.
And
This
you would-
woman leaves out massive amounts.
Oh, yeah. Bowls and bowls of food.
does she think she's helping? Isn't it bad to feed wildlife?
Yes. It
Speaking
is.
as a rule abider, yeah.
And then she holds a peanut up at the tree and go, come on. And she tries to hand feed it. Well, you do that.
I do that too.
But, well, she has
I mean, squirrels are cute, but
yeah, she has a picnic table for her squirrel.
Yeah.
I
mean,
like those. Those are cute.
Yeah. Chuck
Chuck.
appreciates his three-course meal.
That's nice. My parents have the one that's like it's a bird feeder and it has sort of like a ledge that falls if you're too heavy, specifically so squirrels cannot eat it.
Right.
And so
I've had one of those too. Yeah.
they're fun. It sucks for the squirrel, but it's fun to watch squirrels get like thrown from them. Like, they're resilient. They'll be fine, but it is fun.
Well, that's a pretty good prank though, to just kind of
Yeah.
put the seeds all over. It's kind of harmless.
Yeah.
You don't like
I guess
it.
you
She
have to
doesn't
just
like it. Mom's
constantly watch your
triggered.
car and stuff.
Yeah, which is pretty rough.
But they must have hated their neighbor to do that. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
What's the motivation?
Yeah. What is the motivation?
Sometimes just causing trouble is the motivation, as we've learned.
Yeah.
People love a good prank. Do you ever pull
Yeah.
any pranks? Were your pranks?
No, this is making me think that I need to in my current life. I don't do
Yeah.
anything like like nothing I do is sneaky. Once I pretended to break into my parents' house. They didn't like that. There were some like robberies in our neighborhood, and my mom had been out at a friend's house. I thought of so I got caught for this immediately. But my mom was gone, and I was like, when my mom comes back, I'm gonna dress in all black and time the garage door closing and make it look
Oh
like
my
I'm just
God.
about to go under the garage door.
So stupid.
It's so stupid.
my
But when she
God.
drives in, she'll see me start to go in, see her, and run out, and she'll think we were about to get robbed. Yes.
Oh
I mean, it's
God.
brilliant, but it's also like, what if she like randomly had a gun or something?
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And I was like, you don't keep guns. And well, maybe they do. And she was like, you don't know that. And I was like, ah. Yeah, she was like, there's a story in the paper of a man who shot his son for doing exactly that. And I was
oh
like,
God.
so she was really mad about that. But I thought it was going to be so funny.
Well, you should do something. You have a meat cleaver on your wall
I know.
there.
I know.
Yeah, for those who aren't watching this, there's many knives behind
Yeah.
her on the wall.
Get to it.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
ready to.
This is my whole home security. I keep the doors unlocked. I keep everything. I just go on podcasts with these knives behind me so people don't fuck around.
Love it.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Well,
thank
you are a pure delight. For those people that want to know how to follow you, what you're up to, can you fill us in on all good things, including
Yes.
your podcast, your socials, etc.?
I would love to. I am on all the socials, most of the socials, at Jones-Rooy, JONESROOY, one word. And my podcast is Majoring in Everything. And our very own Lisa Schwartz is a guest on that podcast, talking about all the many seemingly unrelated, but surprisingly overlapping and complementary things that you do. And it's a very fun conversation. And you can find my other stuff at jonesrooy.com.
Will your students be listening to this episode?
I think I'm going to send them the link and offer extra credit if they confess something they think they got away with, or something they think they got away with in my class, because I'm sure there's weird stuff going on. So that's a whole other.
That's
a
brilliant.
great
We hope we
idea.
kicked off some good conversations.
Yeah.
And we're expecting to hear back about the tomato fiasco.
Please.
Yes.
Ooh.
I will report back.
Yeah,
Need
many
to know.
theories. You're a delight. Thank you for joining us. And
Thanks for having me.
Hi to your mom.
Hi, Mom.
Hope to have you back soon. How does it feel to be back?
Oh my God. I mean, didn't you miss me?
I
Like,
really
how'd you do it without me?
I don't know, Mom. It was really a sad time without you. But luckily, we have some great guests, and today was no exception to the rule.
So fun.
She was very bold at age 16.
I know. Were you? I
No.
don't think so. I wasn't either.
I don't think I would have even thought to get in the car and drive that far.
Oh, wait a minute. I think I did get into my mom's Mustang. Yeah. I borrowed the car I wasn't supposed to, and I didn't know she wrote down the mileage. Oop.
She wrote down the mileage.
She wrote the mileage
Oh, she so would. She tracked it. Where'd you go?
everywhere.
What-
With it was because she had a cool car.
Oh, you just wanted to like drive around and be
Yeah.
cool?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
Did you
got.
get in trouble?
Yeah. She wasn't too happy.
Yeah, but she was probably proud of you deep down inside.
Well, I got back in one piece. Thank
Yeah.
God.
Thank God, and you didn't have to break any windows.
I didn't.
Well, guys, what did you think? Did you enjoy this episode? Let us know. We want to hear all of your deep thoughts. You can head over to Instagram and TikTok to interact with our production team. That's at Human Content Pods. Also, you guys, as always, you can head over to our website, ungroundablepodcast.com. Leave your questions, leave your stories, interact over there. And like we mentioned before, it really helps us when you take the time to comment and review. We are uploading now, Mom, full episodes on YouTube.
Oh, I love that.
I
That's
know.
great.
I love that too on Mondays.
Yeah.
So you can always watch us there. Guys, we put on makeup for this. It's really an exciting event. And if you are over there and you take the time to comment, we might read it here on this podcast like we're about to do today. Blake D on YouTube said, I love Jessica. Glad she was on the pod. You just listened to that.
It was great.
Yeah, she's
Love
pretty
her.
fun. Guys, mentioned it before. We got that Patreon. Jeff and I have a whole other show on there called Sidebar. I'm active on there. I leave little comments. I put pictures of Corny up there mostly. Lots going on. So head over to patreon.com/ungroundable podcast. That's it. I'm so happy to have you back.
Thanks. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, guys. Thanks for listening. We're your hosts, Lisa Schwartz and
The mom.
yes, and special thanks to our guest, Andrea Jones-Rooy. Our executive producers are Lisa Schwartz, Aaron Corney, Rob Goldman, and Shanti Brooke. Our editor and engineer is Jason Portizo. Our music is by Omer Ben-Zvi, and our theme song is performed by the amazing Leah Donovan Jones. This is Ungroundable with Lisa Schwartz and Mom, and it is a human content production. Yow!
Oh.
Want to go eat some tomatoes?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.